Hey, what's up guys? I'm Anthony Esparza and thank you so much for coming back to my YouTube channel to hang out with me for a little bit. Much appreciated as always. And before we get started with today's video, I just want to remind you guys that my band Defy the Tyrants has a brand new EP out called Asylum. If you're into bands like Lamb of God, After the Burial, Devil Driver, things like that, you're definitely going to dig what we have in store on this new EP. It's 5 original songs. All 5 songs are a little different from each other, but there's a strong connection between all of them, and I'm so happy to finally be able to share this EP with you guys. So you guys can go ahead, check out the EP, add it to your playlist. All the links are going to be in the description box of this episode, and also go to my band's YouTube channel as well. We have vlogs, behind the scenes videos, music videos, so on and so forth, things that'll definitely catch your interest if you're a metal fan. Before we continue, I also just want to remind you guys that I am a podcaster. Not only do I do YouTube videos, not only do I play guitar for a heavy metal band, but I do have my own podcast shows. So I have a podcast network with my buddies Luis Hernandez and Alberto Lafarga. Luis is the manager for the Defy the Tyrants and the guitarist for Alpha Apex, and Alberto is the bassist for my band Defy the Tyrants. We started a podcast network called 1988 Studios, and we currently have 3 shows right now available for your streaming pleasures. First, Rockin' Comics. Rockin' Comics is very similar to this YouTube channel. We talk about our favorite movies, music, television, video games, so on and so forth. So if you're a pop culture fan, you're definitely going to dig that. We do movie reviews, we do top 5 lists, and it's a lot of fun, and I definitely think you guys would definitely enjoy it. We also run 2 other shows, Metalology. Metalology is a seasonal podcast. We're recording season 2 right now. Metalology is basically every episode we do discuss one band. So episode 1 will be Metallica, episode 2 will be As Lay Dying, episode 3 will be Korn, and so on and so forth. If you're a heavy metal fan, you're definitely going to enjoy that. And the last podcast show is called Break the Internet. Break the Internet is in the vein of the Joe Rogan Experience. Lots of random discussion. We usually pick a topic and we kind of run with it. Links to all 3 podcasts, Rockin' Comics, Metalology, and Break the Internet, are included in the description box of this episode. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe to whichever podcast show you think would be best for you, think that you would enjoy. And don't forget, add my band's EP to your playlist as well, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, whatever the case is. Go ahead and add it. We appreciate the support. So far the EP is doing pretty good for us, and we just want to thank everyone who's been checking it out. Last, I also know that on the previous video I said that I was going to be doing film reviews for a bunch of summer titles that were about to come out at that time. However, it's been super busy with my band and podcasting and, just life in general. So I decided it'd be best to do a best of summer 2019 video, probably somewhere in August, September, and pretty much talk about some of my favorite movies of summer 2019, such as Toy Story 4, John Wick Parabellum, Godzilla King of the Monsters. But I had to cover Avengers Endgame, and you guys are here. You guys know that I had to cover Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I've been waiting for this movie ever since the credits of Avengers Endgame. So let's go ahead, let's get into it. This is a non-spoiler review. I'm not going to be giving away a lot. I'm going to be talking about the end credit scenes of this movie, but that's going to be a little bit later, so you guys can go ahead and check out around that time, or just stay tuned and let me spoil the hell out of it for you. Alright, so this movie is pretty much the epilogue of what is now being called the Infinity Saga in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas Avengers Endgame was the final chapter. Spider-Man Far From Home plays pretty much like an epilogue. It's something that happens after the story, and I don't feel like the events of this film will have huge ramifications on a cosmic level going further into the MCU, but I do feel like the ramifications of this film will affect more like the street level heroes or the earth-based heroes because of something big that happens in the post-credit scene. So first and foremost, I want to talk about what I liked about this movie. What I liked, obviously, Tom Holland as Peter Parker. This dude was born to play Peter Parker. Tom Holland brings a huge amount of charisma to the role of Peter Parker, but I feel like in this movie, he really brought his A game. There's moments where, yeah, he's comedic, and there's moments when he's like serious, but there's also moments where he's vulnerable due to the fact that Tony Stark had passed at the end of Avengers Endgame, and he's still dealing with a lot of emotions surrounding Tony Stark's death and the pressures that are being placed upon him by Tony Stark in a lot of ways, Happy Hogan, and pretty much the rest of the world. I also like that we don't really have any of the other Avengers that are on Earth at the moment. Obviously Tony Stark's gone, Captain America's retired, Vision's gone, so we don't know where Scarlet Witch is at, Black Panther watching over Wakanda, and Doctor Strange is probably in some other dimension, and Thor's off-world, the Guardians are off-world, Captain Marvel's probably off-world. So I love the fact that we don't have a huge Avengers presence in this film like we did with Spider-Man Homecoming, which was cool for that movie, but it would have been a little bit too much for this one. I also want to say Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio was amazing. He is definitely in my top 3 villains of the MCU. I gotta say first, Thanos, my man. Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan. But Jake Gyllenhaal is right out there. That dude really, really murdered it in this role. I have pros and cons surrounding how Mysterio was portrayed in this movie, whether it was in the writing or the editing or the acting. But I will say that in the acting area, Jake Gyllenhaal. I keep saying Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal really brought his A game to the Mysterio character, and I love that he brought a lot of respect to the character as well. A lot of times you get these A-list actors, these Academy Award nominated actors who come in and they just kind of phone it in a little bit, and I love that we did get an actual great performance out of Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Mysterio has always been one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Spider-Man villain. Ever since I was a kid, when we had the animated series, he's always been somebody that I've always loved. I was always fascinated with, how he would create illusions, how he would play mind games with Spider-Man, and just those dramatic aspects were really brought forth in this film. Samuel Jackson is back as Nick Fury, and I will say this. I liked Samuel Jackson back as Nick Fury as the Nick Fury that we know him, not necessarily the young, vulnerable Nick Fury we had in Captain Marvel. I really enjoyed what Samuel Jackson brought to the role. He just brought a sense of normality to this character. A lot of things have changed because of Avengers Endgame. I love the fact that Nick Fury just comes in and it's like the next day for him. Like, he's not really fazed by what has happened. Zendaya's performance as MJ this time around, I actually really did enjoy. I liked how the writers treated her character. I like how the director treated her character. And I love that she has a much more prominent role in this movie. I remember when Spider-Man Homecoming came out and a lot of the promo materials and a lot of the interviews, Zendaya was featured heavily. And she's only in the movie for maybe about less than 5 minutes total. And I love that they really brought her to the forefront, and she was a integral part to a lot of the third act, a lot of the second act, to a lot of the drama, and also a couple of the action sequences as well. So I love the fact that they brought Zendaya further into the picture in this film. I gotta say, man, my favorite character in Spider-Man Far From Home was Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau. Happy Hogan really, really brought, like Nick Fury, a sense of normality, but you could tell he's changed. He's not as, tight-assed, I guess, for lack of a better word. Tony Stark was more of the father figure. Happy's way more of the uncle figure. And there's a scene in this movie that happens where if this would have happened in Homecoming, Happy probably would have just hung up the phone. But in this film, there's something that happens, and without question, he's like, I'm there in a heartbeat. And just like a family member, like he's family to Peter Parker now. And it could be whether because he's used to Peter Parker by now or he's trying to do right by Tony Stark. One way or another, I love his character in this movie. The action set pieces in this movie, I loved at least the second and third act. I wasn't a big fan of the first act, and I'll get to the first act in a minute. But I love the 2 big action sequences in this film. It was really cool to see how Mysterio kind of played around with Peter Parker without having to fully use his illusions and all that shit. But I really did enjoy the third act of this movie. Couple things that I really didn't like about this movie. There's not much. I actually really quite enjoyed this film. But I will say that the first act, even though it was hilarious, there were some moments I was just laughing out loud. The first act just dragged. It dragged a lot. And there is an action scene somewhere towards the end of the first act that, it was either the end of the first act or the beginning of the second act. I don't fucking know. But it just really felt like it dragged. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of movies that go on vacations, like Europe. And I think Adam Sandler fucking murdered that for me. And in this movie, I just felt like, God, dude, I kind of wish that this took place in New York. This would have been a lot cooler for me if this would have taken place in New York. It's kind of dumb saying that a set or a location bugged me. But man, I don't know, man. I think I'm over movies taking place in Europe. I don't fucking know. I give up. I have no taste. Fuck this shit. Probably my favorite scenes in this movie had to do with Mysterio's illusions. There's 2 big sequences where Mysterio's creating these nightmare realms for Peter Parker and watching Spider-Man kind of fight through and getting confused and getting all fucked up. That was just really, really insane to watch. It reminded me a lot of the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon that came out in the 90s. So cool to finally see something like that come to life and see Mysterio's fishbowl head smoky, fucking building this world. Super fucking cool. My favorite scenes, and I wish there was more scenes like that in this movie. Alright, so right now I'm going to get into the end credits real quick. There's 2 end credit scenes that I want to talk about real quick before I get into my score and before I get into kind of talking about my overall thoughts of the film. So, spoiler warning. If you're watching this and you have not watched Spider-Man Far From Home and you don't want the end credits to get spoiled, tune out now. I'm going to say that these are some of the best, if not the best, MCU end credit scenes I've ever seen. Alright, so first end credit scene. This is what everyone's talking about. This is what Google is talking about. This is what Facebook is talking about. Everybody's talking about this scene. So this scene is a mid-credit scene. It happens right after pretty much the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Peter Parker is swinging Zendaya's MJ through the streets of New York. So pretty much Spider-Man comes over, sets down MJ. He's getting ready to leave to go look for crime or whatever. And then you see in the background of New York a big-ass TV screen. And it's the news. And apparently Mysterio has sent out some kind of video right before his death. And it's basically a manipulated video of Mysterio's death where Mysterio's blaming Spider-Man for killing him and for trying to kill thousands of people. And then, who do we have? We have J.K. motherfucking Simmons from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films. The legendary J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, the role he was born to play. Finally, we have him in the MCU. I'm so excited. Anyway, so J. Jonah Jameson is right there. He's telling everybody, Spider-Man's a menace. Spider-Man's this. All the classic lines. I fucking love it. He's telling everybody, Spider-Man's this, Spider-Man's that, Spider-Man's a bad guy. We need to take Spider-Man down. And then you see a scene of Mysterio looking at the camera and saying, Spider-Man's real identity is, his real name is Peter Parker. Oh! I can't even right now. I can't even. I love the direction that they're taking this movie in. I love the direction they're taking the franchise in. And not only is it the direction they're taking the Spider-Man franchise, but it's the direction the MCU is taking further as well, in that the superheroes, they don't need secret identities. They're almost like rock stars in a way. I also want to mention one more thing that I liked about this movie. The fact that we have no fucking clue. Not even what's going to happen in the MCU. Like, we have an idea about what's going to happen with the MCU, but we don't have a direction. We don't know who's going to be the next leader of the Avengers. I don't think Spider-Man's going to be the leader no matter what. But we don't know. We didn't get no Fantastic Four hints. We didn't get no X-Men hints. We don't know where this is going. And I love it. And I love that Marvel is finally doing this. For the first time in maybe 6 or 7 years, we don't know where the MCU is going. We have reports of Doctor Strange 2 is being filmed. Captain Marvel 2 is on the dockets. Black Panther 2 is coming. Of course those movies are coming. But we don't have a slate and we have no clue what's about to drop. Alright, so my score for this movie, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give Spider-Man Far From Home a 7 out of 10. Not a perfect movie. I highly enjoyed it. I preferred it over Spider-Man Homecoming. There's a lot of great things about this movie. Some little nitpicking things, apart from an exposition dump and, kind of like a weak first act. I really did enjoy this movie. I had a lot of laughs. This is definitely a movie you can take your kids to go see. You can take your nephews, your cousins, the little ones. They will enjoy it. I took my 6-year-old son and we had a blast. You guys definitely want to go check this movie out as soon as you can. And like I said, check out those fucking end credit scenes, because these are scenes that are changing the MCU. I don't know the last time we watched an end credit scene that just changed the entire MCU landscape. And I'm just so excited for the direction we're going in. Alright guys, so did you like the movie or not? Let me know in the comments below. What did you think of Spider-Man Far From Home? Also, make sure to subscribe to my podcast, Rock Comics Metalology Break the Internet, at the links below. And get my band's new EP, Asylum, on Spotify and on all music platforms right now. That is awesome. Links below. I much appreciate your support, guys. I hope everyone has a great summer, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon.